Outer Rim News with Austin Gordy, Ray Snedeker, and Ashley Wilbanks.
I got a bad feeling about this.
I did it again. StreamYard has this stupid countdown clock over here to the side, and I always look at it, and I add it in right before we should add like our introduction in. I'm stupid, but nevertheless, this is the Outer Rim News Podcast. We're back with you for another week of Obi-Wan Kenobi discussion. I can't wait. Episode 3 just dropped. It was a big one. Let's see if we all have the same thoughts on it. And we're going to continue into our discussion of the events from Star Wars Celebration. So as always, let's bring in the co-hosts here. We're going to start with Austin Gordy, who's in, giving us the peace sign. And Ray, is he having internet connection issues again? Oh, no.
Dun, 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 dun,
It's like a Dr. Evil kind of turn.
It's more like a come and get it.
Okay, let's start over.
Who wants to swipe right on this piece?
Just trying to drink, man. All right, so we've all
I can't wait to talk about Stranger Things Season 4. Okay, so Episode 1. It's been 6 months since the Battle of Starcourt.
I have not seen anything yet.
So-
Stop.
Okay.
He's already spoiled too much. 6 months.
You ruined it.
You
You
won't
ruined
believe
it.
what happened. Won't believe it.
Oh, my gosh.
But you know, can I ask y'all a question though? Did
Go
Kenobi
ahead.
sneak up on you? Like did Wednesday come up really fast?
It did. It did.
I loved it. That was the best feeling for like a follow-up episode ever.
And now we have to wait like a whole freaking week
Yeah.
for the next episode.
That was like a dirty tease by Disney. It's like, here's first 2 episodes on Friday. Then all you gotta do is wait till Wednesday. And now from now on it's Wednesday.
And
Listen,
now you
man,
gotta
we're
wait
already
a whole
close.
At this rate, they should have just did 2 episodes a week for 3 weeks.
They should have.
They should have done that.
Yeah, I agree. Or just make it 3 episodes,
Yeah.
each
I mean,
2 hours long.
You know, it brings up a good point. You know, I think Disney, it's strange with The Mandalorian because they started something that, all right, I wouldn't say they started it, but they kind of brought it back to, you know, Netflix for a long time had the whole binge mode for a while, and that was the dominant form, and you know, a lot of people still like that. But Disney, I will say, like, the big advantage of a weekly release like this that it does have over something like, say, Stranger Things, which does most of its, you know, in this case they did a little differently, but most Netflix shows whole season drops on a single day. It, you know, when you do weekly releases, it gives it a lot longer gestation period in the public consciousness. So I mean, yeah, that's a good advantage, because I've noticed week by week, you know, for good or bad, every Star Wars episode, you know, people are having discussions week after week, whereas then you have the whole binge show. It's only going to last maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then, you know, people are going to kind of just float around for a bit instead of actively being in the ether.
Right.
Because I remember, you know, Stranger Things 3, you know, it was huge the week it came out, and it stayed huge for a couple weeks after it came out because people were speculating about what was coming, but it was going to be so long, and then the pandemic happened. But
that's the whole point, though, isn't it? Right, to keep the conversation going, keep the hype train going.
Cooler, you know, water cooler conversation, and you know, like this, you know, I love discussing episode by episode with people I know, you know, friends, you know, trying to figure out what's going to happen. Oh, I'm a business friend.
But
well, you know, water cooler, you know.
No, I was gonna.
But yeah. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, it's definitely. I mean, I think it's also a win for like the streaming services, because they also can extend that I guess the life of the service. Because think about it, with Netflix, sometimes you let's say you only want Netflix for Stranger Things or Orange is the New Black or whatever, and you watch that episode, or excuse me, that season gets dumped all at once, you binge it, and then you just cancel your membership for the rest of the
one.
and
for
but
1 month,
with
and then
this,
you're done.
but with like the Disney Plus and like the I'm trying to think, I think like Hulu is kind of adopting this model more too, which they kind of have to with live broadcasts and stuff.
I would say like Hulu, I think, has been actually
HBO
doing
Max.
even before the buyout by Disney. I think Hulu was doing weekly releases for their original stuff also, because I remember like some shows I would watch, like there was a cult show with Aaron Paul and Michelle Monaghan. I forgot the title of it, but I remember it was a weekly release series. So I wouldn't say Disney was the one that started it back, but I would say they're the ones that I think have kind of made other streamers realize that it's still a profitable and relevant form of releasing content.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and then I think that's another thing, because otherwise I do see that problem with certain services where you just watch the whole thing in that one go, and then it's they could have kept me for weeks, but because I was able to watch it all in 2 nights, then you're okay. I'm gonna go on to something else. But anyway, that's I think it's a win-win. You get that, and you, like you said, it's a really great way to keep it in the social conscious longer for people to engage.
Yeah,
but as a fan, you want it all right now. And because with something like this, I could really sit down and watch all 6 episodes.
Yeah.
I
mean, then we can just get into the whole nature of like any kind of big storyline with any kind of story. It's always a thing you want more especially when it's getting great. You think about like the TV shows we watch, and I mean, both of y'all remember Smallville. We all watched that back in the day. I remember they would have their great cliffhanger endings, and you were just like, bring me the season premiere now, because I don't want to wait 3 more months for the next season. It's just a continuous thing.
Yeah, that's different storytelling too. That's just we won't get into that. But
or just like movie franchises. I mean, like waiting. Think about how difficult it was. Thinking about the first Iron Man movie, how it ended with Nick Fury asking about the wanting to talk about the Avengers Initiative.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to the Avengers. Then the Avengers, they had the big Thanos thing, and we don't even get Thanos until how many more years down the line?
No,
because that was 2012. Thanos popped in finally.
At the end of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He was teased.
So 2017,
Guardians of the Galaxy was
2014. 2014, he appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy. 2015, he appeared in the post credits. Then 2017, I think, or was it 2018? He was in Infinity War,
something like that. Yeah, it's all pre-COVID. It's all running together.
It's all stuff that just it's content or just story stuff you wish you wanted to hurry up and get to you, but it's always it's just the nature of storytelling.
So let's dive into episode 3.
Episode 3,
and we start off with, which is a good shot of Kenobi basically, just sitting there meditating, trying to reconnect with the Force, because he's totally out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see him, asking Qui-Gon, please talk to me. And then he's remembering stuff, which I thought was a pretty good, moment there, because it does I think right there truly says, he's broken. He's cut the Force off, or he's either cut it off, or he somehow lost all the connection to it. And maybe it is just the dark side just permeating everything, and locking him down. But it still seems like Yoda, when we see him in Empire Strikes Back, doesn't have a problem with it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I wonder, because it's been 10 years later. Did he ever try? Because that was how episode 3 ended, was Yoda telling Obi-Wan that he was going to teach him how to commune with Qui-Gon, his old master. So I wonder, did he ever even attempt Yoda's lessons, or was he, after Yoda told him what he would need to do, did he just not even try?
I kind of get the sense that he did try, because if you go back to episode 1, before he starts the hero's journey, the Joseph.
He's
Campbell
asking
stuff.
in the middle of the night. He's asking.
He's
him.
asking.
Yeah,
and he can't.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, maybe it was a thing where he did speak with him once, maybe briefly, and then, after he kind of, as time went on and he got more and more just kind of jaded and, hopeless kind of about the situation, maybe he lost the ability to recommunicate with him. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So what else
I would
do we
think
have?
either that. I would think either that, or I was thinking it could be that he had, before he broke off contact with Yoda, at the end of episode 3, maybe that was like, he gave him a little bit of hope and gave him a nugget that, like, look, this is possible to do. And then maybe after he broke communication with Yoda, it was like you had 10 years of him probably trying and didn't quite know how to do it. Or I don't know, maybe he becomes frustrated because of, like, number one, he's cut off from the Force in a way because of the dark side permeating everything. And then you've got, he doesn't have Yoda there to really guide him. I don't know. It's like, it just seems, because I do think that it's like they can't communicate across distances really during this time, like him and Yoda. I feel like, I don't think they could if they wanted to. Could they? Because it's just, I felt like at a certain point, I feel like the Emperor, like I said, has permeated the dark side, because even during the Clone Wars, it was choking off everything where they weren't able to
It was
sense
but
the Force. Go ahead.
But go back to Rebels.
Okay.
Where Kanan
where
takes Ezra to find his lightsaber, or his doodad.
right. Kyber crystal.
And he's in there, and
Yoda
appears.
briefly. Yeah. In the kind of
True.
like the ether of the Force, I guess.
Yeah.
But did it take that location with like a super connection to the Force in order to establish that sort of, you know what I'm saying? Like he had to have a conduit in some way to break through the darkness. I don't know.
He had to have
That's
that
why
4G.
I just always wonder.
See, he had the cell phone, but he needed the 4G signal. That's what
5G.
He needed that 5G signal.
Yeah,
He that 6G
he was using
signal.
3G. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No,
what
he's using
Obi-Wan's
1X. He's using
He's 1X. Yeah, he has no signal. Oh God.
Dial up.
It's like you just hear Qui-Gon screaming out to him, Obi-Wan, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Obi-Wan? Obi-Wan. And then he's just like, Master.
Is this any better?
And he just literally
Is this any better?
Can you hear me? Please. Right here.
Hello there.
Obi-Wan, I have a particular set of. Can you hear me? Is this any better?
Oh Lord.
Oh man.
Okay, so after he meditates a little bit, I think you can almost see the turning point in like him waking up to the Force when he's working on that little robot for Leia, trying to fix it up, and he turns to her, hands the robot, and she says, something like "thank you," and you can almost see him like pause and look at her for a second, almost like he hadn't heard "thank you" in like a long time. He hadn't done anything for anybody in a long time, because it's like they stopped the camera on that for a few seconds there while he just sat there and looked at her like, I just did something good, mate, for somebody. I don't know if maybe that was the beginning of the wake up to him, but towards the end of the episode, you can see he's still clearly broken, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, because because it's fun to wonder, because we don't, even as of the end of episode 3, he's still not close to that Obi-Wan that we see face off with Maul, as in like and even the one who found Luke, he's not someone who hides away so much anymore. Like, he does live on his own, he is isolated, but he is not anywhere like the current iteration of Obi-Wan that we're seeing. He's he is confident in himself. He's a little snarky.
Yeah.
What was the line about in A New Hope? Your uncle was afraid, or something like that. Was afraid your brother would get caught up in some damn idealistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So
Obi-Wan on some idealistic.
So what? Let's move. Well, are we? Is there?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You move it.
Well,
on.
no. I'm just thinking. Like, I'm trying to think. What else? Did he bring up the Force in that scene?
I don't.
Describe the Force, or was that a little bit later in the truck?
No, that was during that scene because
That was
she
during the
says,
scene
"What
where
is
she
the
asked
force?"
him,
She
"What's
asks,
it like?"
"What's it
And-
like?" And he says, which is a very cool description to
Yeah.
me. It's like, what's it feel like to be in the dark and all of a sudden somebody turns the light on? It's like, wow.
He
He was
feels
like, "Yeah, are you afraid of the dark or something like that?" Or, and she
Yeah.
was like, "Yes." And he was like, imagine like being in the dark and having the light turned on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that was a great. I'll tell you, just the scenes between them two were great because it's like they're building this. It's like he's training her in a way that's not. I don't know. It's so neat to be able to say that Obi-Wan not only was a guardian over Luke, but in some way influenced Leia. But in
But
some
it,
ways,
yeah.
she touched him too.
Yeah.
And I think he also, you were saying like when she was talking, when she says thank you and all that, I feel like Obi-Wan also is very. I think when he's like talking to her, especially in this episode, it's like I can see in him that he's so not proud. I'm trying to think like he's
Surprised.
not, I mean, surprised, but he's comfortable knowing that she is in the right hands. Like
Yeah.
Bale has raised her well so far. Like
Yeah.
she's such a strong, and he sees Anakin and like he can see, and her mother. And it's like he can really, and especially her mother. He can draw
Yeah.
that line to Padme, and it's like it really does something to him. And I don't know. I just love how you get that in this episode a lot.
And, yeah. And speaking of Leia, we'll get to it later, but yeah, it's something, one of the people they meet later, you kind of see the seeds planted of her joining the rebellion. It
yes,
seems like,
you do.
her interest in certain things, you kind of see it's like, okay, I see that now.
Or at least understanding it, being able to justify that world and make it make sense to yourself. Yeah,
well, she's seeing the bad of the Empire right now.
Yeah.
She's experiencing the bad of the Empire, so she knows.
But she's also been living in a bubble because when she speaks to Obi-Wan at first, when they first talk about the Empire, this is after they've landed and they've snuck off the ship. She brings it up to him like, I thought the Empire was trying to help. So you kind of get that idea that even though Bale knows that the Empire, is not doing good things, he does shield her from that. I guess he just, I mean, she's a child. You don't want to. You bring, you don't want to.
And the only thing she's understand, all the things she's saying is probably things that she's heard, like propaganda in certain ways. So it's like Bale just doesn't deflect it. He doesn't try to correct her or anything.
Yeah,
but we do know from Star Wars that you become a senator at 13.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is right after all of this. I'm sure is when she gets motivated to do more. I bet that's probably what they're pushing with her involvement in this show is trying to be like, well, this is what gives her the ultimate drive.
But to me, it's skirting that continuity or the canon very much because the only connection there in A New Hope is the message to Obi-Wan. And does she call him Ben? Or no, she calls him Obi-Wan. She calls him Obi-Wan. Mm-hmm. But surely she's heard that name being around him because several people have called him Obi-Wan, and it seems like she was right there beside her. I mean, right there beside him. But because there's another scene when Luke rescues Leia, opens up the door, and he said, "I'm here with Ben Kenobi," and she's like, "Ben Kenobi?"
Yeah, she knows that name.
She knows that name, but but when she addresses him in the R2 message, it's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, I guess it's kind of showing she does know both aliases. She knows his real name, which is what she reaches out to him as, and then she is familiar. It shows that she is familiar with his alias that he lived under, which was Ben.
And plus that was an official message to Obi-Wan Kenobi. You know what I'm saying? It was like an official message. So that's probably why she used his official name in the R2 message versus like being aware of his personal nickname or something like that. Like she's like, "Oh yeah, I know old Ben.
Yeah,
my dad knows him."
Yeah. Well,
but wouldn't you think she would tell Luke about this adventure at some point, though?
Maybe it's one, but yeah, I think that's the thing. When it comes to movies, we always want to have the scenes where these expositions are shared between characters, but it always seems to happen off screen. Like, did you both read the Leia book, Bloodlines?
Mm-hmm. No, I've
got it.
I've got it signed, autographed copy downstairs. I just hadn't read it.
There's a couple, like there's a scene or two in there where Leia talks about her past because she's very resentful of Vader and Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still, at this point, it's still a secret that Vader was Anakin Skywalker.
Right.
But she mentions in the story that she remembers after the Battle of Endor, Luke would tell her almost with like a starry-eyed manner, of Vader's redemption, of how Anakin came back. He would say like almost like he's enamored that his father was able to come back from. So it's one of those moments, like what you're talking about, like why wasn't this information ever shared? It's that stuff that you hope it happens, but most of the time it's just relegated to off screen or referred to afterwards.
But also, though, I mean, it's not like she knows much about Obi-Wan anyways right now. I mean, we don't know yet how far their paths go, but she don't know that much about him. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm sure after Return of the Jedi and Luke was, really actively searching out history stuff. And I'm sure she also probably searched out more stuff about her mother. I'm sure a lot of stuff came to light for both of them. And they probably would touch base and exchange information so they could figure out this whole puzzle of their lives and their existence.
Yeah, because but beyond her knowing that he is Obi-Wan Kenobi and that he served with her father, she knows about as much about him as Luke does.
Yeah. But she's very observant. I'll give her that because even in the truck ride through the planet,
she figures out that she's
like,
mother.
Are you? Yeah. Did you know my mother? And he doesn't really answer.
He deflects from it. Yeah.
But he said, "Are you my father?" And he's like, "I wish I was."
Which was a sad moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
dang girl, you got a daddy. Like, go on.
But she knows she's adopted, right? Because she knows. But that moment also brought up this weird, or not weird, but this Kenobi has a brother.
Yeah, that's one thing. Well, not just that. I mean, I almost say that was like an interesting byproduct, but I loved the moment where he mentions what he remembers of his childhood before the Jedi. I like the wording in Ewan's delivery where he just, he has just a couple of flashes of memories. Like he remembers his mother's shawl. Yeah, more feelings, but he remembers his mother's shawl, his father's hands, and then he remembers that he had a brother that was a baby, which was an interesting addition to the lore. I don't know if there's anything that's ever going to come of that, but that is a very interesting.
Why stick it in there?
Seed,
come of it.
It seems like a seed that's planted for something. I don't know what. But.
If I remember correctly, I mean, we can obviously Google this here, but I think I remember from the previous EU that Obi-Wan had a brother named Ben, and maybe that's kind of like where he had the idea to get his nickname. Yeah, in the previous canon, I think he had a brother. Like it was pretty much like I think he knew then he had a brother. I think, like I said, his name was Ben Kenobi.
Was that in the Obi-Wan book?
I feel like they addressed it in. You remember those? Remember the what was it? Young Jedi Adventures, or what was it called? It was like back after Episode 1 came out. There was the line of books with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, there's like three different series of them because there's the one.
The first series. It was the one before like it was like him as a young Padawan or a young Jedi before taking on with Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it was like Jedi Apprentice was the name of the book.
Jedi Apprentice was that one, yeah. Because and then I think the second series was like Jedi Quest, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah. So I feel like, and I'll look at. I mean, you could continue on talking about the series, but I feel like and it may even been in the first book, but he mentions that he had a brother named Ben Kenobi, and I feel like it's even mentioned somewhere else that he has a brother. I think it was only like this book maybe that actually gave a name. I'll research it further.
Okay, so that very well may not be a plot point for later on. It could just be a nod to the EU.
Yeah. It could be a nod to the EU, but I think it also does opens up a lot of story material. Like
it opens up something for Lucasfilm because this is the cynic, corporate cynic in me coming out, but it opens up a thing for them to be able to use Kenobi's name, a recognizable name like Kenobi with new stories and a new character, so you benefit off of the familiarity, but you can also be something new, which is one of the go-to things in Hollywood for any story is you want to do new but familiar, which is that's almost like It's almost like 101 for a lot of these franchises and IPs, when they're trying to come up with new stuff. I mean, episode 7 was that, in writing, basically. It was just, it's familiar because it's very similar structure to the first, to A New Hope, but it's new because you have all the, new stuff that you're trying out with it. So you just this weird balance. But, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do with it? Maybe they won't do anything with it.
Yeah, and so aside from that,
I was going to say a quick update. So I found out what that was. Basically he had a vision that he had a brother, like he had a memory that he had a brother named Owen, not Ben, Owen, like Owen Lars. So he had a brother named Owen, but I guess I didn't see this in the series. It must have been towards the end of the series. They concluded that it actually wasn't his real brother. He was seeing a vision of Owen Lars through the Force in some way. So that he was mistaking as his brother. Yeah. So, but I feel like that's a way for them to kind of play around with that. So it'd be funny if this is his brother. They introduced him a brother named Owen or something like that in this universe. But I'm sure they'll probably give him a different name and all that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But in that area though, being that we're talking about those scenes with the truck and them interacting, another interesting thing that was kind of brought up more is setting up kind of the world building for the world was his description of what was going on, what the Empire was doing.
Oh yeah,
When he described the world, it used to be flush, villages all around, and now it looks much more. It looks like a
wasteland,
dying plains, desolate, a bit desolate looking, kind of not a happy looking place to live.
Right.
I mean, if Zach Braff as a rat person is going to pick you up, you're not doing too well, probably. I don't hate you, Zach Braff. I promise I don't hate you. Probably a little bit, but I don't.
Really, I knew that. I mean, totally doesn't sound like Zach Braff. It sounds like
it's crazy.
Who was I thinking it sounded like? It sounded like some puppet or Muppet or some
Jim Henson.
Kids
can't do that. He died.
Kids show. Like
you were probably thinking of somebody that used to play like maybe in Muppets. I know that Kevin Clash used to do Elmo and a bunch of other characters. The baby from Dinosaurs and all that.
Oh no, it sounded like the dinosaur from Toy Story. Was it the dinosaur?
You're talking
about
Mr.
Potato Head.
Wallace Shawn, yeah.
Or Mr. Potato Head. It was one of those two. I can't remember.
Like Don Rickles.
yeah. Don Rickles, I think, was Mr. Potato Head.
Rest in peace. It'd be funny if that was a reference to Don Rickles.
Which, that character, though, was an interesting one because me and my wife were watching him, and it was kind of one of those topical things, where you have this person that definitely would not be accepted by the Empire under regular circumstances.
Oh, no.
Because they're very, this is a very xenophobic organization. It's pretty established. And yet he talks about them like they're, this great thing. And then you kind of see why, because he's able to get good favor with them because he rats out anybody, he can for, he gives them rides. Out. Yeah. So he curries favor with him, as part of that whole Empire culture that it's established. Everybody, people have become more selfish because they're all trying to just survive under this rule now.
Well, nothing wrong with a little order, right?
Make the galaxy great again.
It's like I imagine Emperor Palpatine, if there is a protest and he's just asking his lead guard, can you go out there and just shoot him? That's a topical reference to something that really happened, apparently.
What I want to know is, how did Obi-Wan become such a good gunfighter between episode 2 and 3? In 2, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. In episode 3, every shot hit the stormtroopers.
Listen, he had to.
Did he shoot at somebody in episode 2?
Remember on the rooftops? He was just shooting.
Episode. I was thinking of Attack of the Clones. That's what I was thinking.
Oh no! I was episode 2 of Kenobi. Not
what was he doing? Was it during the the Jango Fett chase? No. I don't know. I was about to say maybe it was just the that could be it. Him, relying on the Force. He didn't have it really at that point.
He's connecting back. He's connecting back.
Yeah, I mean, as with a lot of things, you can use the Force probably to fine tune your senses when you're shooting to be that good with it.
I figured that's what happened when the one stormtrooper was holding her hostage.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a lucky shot.
I was wondering if he was going to pull one of those shots, or if he was going to just use the Force to like knock him away or something. But
I for sure thought he was going to say, "You want to let her go," but that didn't come out. I was, he's so mind trick kind of Jedi, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, I don't think he's at that point yet. I think we're on our way there. But yeah, I don't think he's reached that point where he relies that much on. At this point, he's still trying to just figure things out. I think he's really still lost. So I don't think he has the confidence yet to be that clever.
So
again, yeah.
Prior to that, so after that, another cool shot was when he shot the stormtrooper up in the tower, and the stormtrooper fell on those.
Oh yeah, on the
laser
beams.
Bisected. He got bisected.
That was so cool.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
the sound of it and everything. It was great. Yeah.
Oh, that was cool. And then they had when he had to try to disable it, it had the little handle that comes down like on the Death Star. That little,
Just think about.
Oh
yeah. Like that poor guy. You better hope it was a kill shot when he got shot the first time.
Oh,
just been a shoulder and he just falls through. He's like. Oh no! Oh no!
It happened! Ah! Man, so what did y'all think about the return of Darth Vader?
Wait, before we get to that,
let's hold on.
There was
let's
a
talk
moment,
about
that was
the chilling moment, the hallucination.
Hey, shut up, Austin. Just shut up. We're going through it moment by moment.
Well, before we got there, we got the hallucination, which was interesting.
The hallucination.
He thought he saw Anakin in the desert. Or in the the fields when he was with Leia, that was kind of like a foreshadowing of what was coming. But that was an interesting part because we saw Hayden, and I think it was almost maybe it was this. I've heard people say that they thought it might have been something by Vader himself, like he was messing with Obi-Wan, like reaching out to him through the Force and messing with him. But I think it was just his guilt.
I think so too.
Coming through in a hallucinatory PTSD
that he didn't
thing.
Kill him. Yeah.
But it's also he's seeing, almost imagining the man that Anakin would be at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just an older Hayden Christensen in the he is what Anakin probably would have looked like had he not been maimed and burned.
Well, he doesn't know what he looks like anymore.
No, he doesn't. That's what I'm just saying. He's having to imagine based on, because he's very hooded. All he can see is kind of his face a little bit.
Yeah.
But
they get rescued by a fake Imperial. They get taken back to this little town, which is apparently some Jedi youngling transport.
Underground railroad.
Underground railroad.
Yeah.
So we learned the fate of Quinlan Voss, that he's still alive.
That. Oh,
yes.
I loved that. That was a great little Easter egg. I don't know if they're going to do anything more with that, but he was one Jedi that I really like. He seems like he's a little inspired by Native American look.
Yeah.
I would say, I would say he's more. And he is. I feel like they could probably even go further. They could really, hand that to like a Native American actor or something like that, and really make representation in that character. That will be. But the fact that they announced him, and again, because we heard him in episode 3, but the fact that we acknowledge that he's alive, and that when you get a shout out like this in these shows, it's probably going to come to fruition. Like he's probably going to be in the show at some point.
So who played him in the Phantom Menace? Who played Quinlan Voss in the Phantom Menace?
I can't remember. He an extra? I think he was a background extra at that point.
So if he's a background extra, it really doesn't matter. They can bring in anybody.
Yeah.
Well, they had that voice actor for the character in the Clone Wars, though. So they could try to go and model from there. But it was originally just like an extra.
So then it got built out from there, because I think Lucas saw the character that someone had created, and he decided to build, name a character and use that look for it, I think.
So what do you think about the loader droid that they meet?
Oh, I love that thing. It's awesome.
Do you think it's a droid? I think there's somebody. It's a guy in a suit in a droid outfit.
You mean in like disguised as a droid?
Yes,
because of the hammer scene.
Well, not just because of that.
I thought it was the bonk hammer scene.
There was a lot of stuff, like when Leia's trying to talk to him, and she's like, loader droids don't talk. they can't communicate like that.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of like, don't mess with him, don't mess with him.
And then
this
Reva's
thing.
reaction to him.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good point.
There,
That's a good point.
if it to me, I hate to say it, there is kind of a if you're looking at if you kind of study the look of the droid, there's some armor kind of looking shots to the legs.
Mhm.
Could it be what's the dude from the Bad Batch, the big one?
Wrecker. I mean, I doubt it's going to be anybody from before. If it was like a reveal like that, I bet they'd probably just make a new character.
Or is it maybe possibly a Jedi that we just don't?
I feel like we're reaching a little bit there just because
Really?
I find the idea of a Jedi just disguising himself as a loader droid.
But I mean, isn't it funny that he left, but then he comes back to save Obi-Wan at the end?
That is a good point. I guess we'll see in the next episode.
Yeah. I think there's more to that loader droid than meets the eye.
Yeah,
I think there's more to it.
But yeah, I guess we can. Well, before we get to Vader appearing, and we're still talking about the underground.
Yeah.
Have you seen that people have been analyzing the other names on the walls since then?
No, I haven't. Well,
so there were 3 names that people have found. The first one is a great one because we'll both know who this person is. Caleb. Someone found the name Doom on there. Dume.
Oh, Kanan Jarrus.
So Kanan seems like Kanan was on the path. So that would explain how he was able to get his his new name and everything, his new identity. So someone named Valen Halcyon, also aka Hal Horn. Have you ever heard of this character?
Yeah, Hal Horn. That's from the OG EU.
So it could be just like an Easter egg to that.
Yeah, because that's like Corin Horn's brother, right?
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Remember Corin Horn?
Oh yeah, I remember him. Yeah, the iJedi character.
Wow. I bet the fans are like, oh God, he knows nothing. It was Ashley, help me out here. The Jedi Knight series, the Dark
Jedi
Forces
Academy.
No, there was Jedi Knight, and then there was Jedi. But yeah, he was in it. Cal Kestis. Remember the Cal Kestis character from the OG? That's who I think you're talking about, Ray. But Cal Kestis is that his name? Cal Kestis, right?
Cal Kestis is Fallen Order.
Fallen Order.
Cal Kestis Fallen Order. Then it's very
Cal
Katarn. Cal Katarn. Excuse me. Thank you.
How did you forget Cal Katarn?
Cal Katarn and Cal Kestis is like.
No, I'm saying
similar.
like I mean
Dark Forces. You're talking about the shoot 'em up game.
Yes, but anyways, he was getting the Kyle Katarn character confused with
Corin Horn.
Yeah, Corin Horn, remember, was the character from Rogue Squadron books.
Okay. I mean, no, I'm just saying, like, didn't he have a book named after, like, that was featured?
Oh, iJedi.
That's what I was
iJedi. I thought you were saying the Jedi character from the games. No, I got you. Yeah. He had his own single book. It was like from his point of view from the Jedi Academy trilogy.
Yeah, I think it's like
and it was, yeah. So, but he had a brother named Hal. And I want to say that person was in the comics, probably, in the Rogue Squadron comics that Dark Force had.
Yeah, well, the person who referenced it, like, showed a picture of the character, like,
interesting.
Talking. And then one other name that they managed to pick out was Dijin Altus. Are y'all familiar with that name?
That name doesn't sound
DJINN Altus ALTIS. So maybe there was some.
Yeah, there's some EU connection, I imagine.
Yeah. So some Easter egg characters. So anyways, let's get to Vader's big moment where he.
But you know what? We skipped over Vader's big moment.
What?
I was going to say, guys, the horn stuff, though, is in the Legends. I forgot. It was a bigger thing in terms of them ending up having Jedi roots and all that. You know, it was the Halcyon family.
Yeah,
that was even in Legends. Okay. Yeah, that was in Legends. Hal Horn, I thought Hal Horn was his brother, but maybe Hal was his daddy. Maybe it was Hal and then Corin. I was trying to see. Okay, you got Valen Hal Horn. And Niche had Corin, so
because the name that they found was Valen.
So it looks like so Hal was his daddy, not his brother. He had a father named Hal Horn. So maybe Hal Horn that makes even more sense. So his father Hal Horn survived Jedi Purge, went through that path, and that leads the way for Corran Horn as well.
So it seems like it could be another chance for them to pull another character from Legends to canon,
which is amazing. That's why I love that they keep doing that. I love that. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. So Vader's first appearance in the show or in this episode is really cool because they're taking him out of the Bacta tank and they're sort of putting him back together, which was icky, gross, and you get to see the arms come on and the legs come on. And you actually, that is Hayden's face. When the helmet's coming down, you can tell that's Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
Right there.
And here's another question about that whole thing. Is this the first time we've seen Vader's castle in live action?
No, Rogue One.
No, remember it was in Rogue One.
Rogue One? Oh, okay. Yeah. That's true.
No. But no, I mean, it's the only second time we see it. And it's, I'm so glad that they really like made it even more like Dracula's castle. And then
how vindictive of a boss do you have to have that he makes you a castle, but he makes it in the place where your life was irrevocably changed.
And I bet he probably has no AC. He has nothing and no climate control in that building.
I can imagine Palpatine sitting in the design room with the builders who are going to be doing this, and he's just laughing and thinking about this. So you're gonna put this on this lava cliff. Look down there, that's where he was a roast crisp.
But doesn't that planet
have the best view of every day?
But doesn't that planet have some kind of tie to the dark side though? There's some kind of pull or something, and that's why Palpatine sent him there to begin with.
Yeah.
So
I just find it funny that Palpatine could just be that petty and malicious toward his listeners.
Petty. He's petty. Look at he shoved him into that suit. I bet he could have easily healed Anakin in like a Bacta tank or something. He could have done something different. He's just like, no. He's just like, no, slap on some Band-Aids. Throw some robots on him. He'll be fine. He'll shake it off.
In the suit, we're gonna just trust me on this. Throughout his suit, I want you to dump a lot of sand throughout it. Shake it. Yeah. Get some of that grit in there. So whenever he's moving around, he's gonna have sand grit just rubbing all against his burn wounds.
I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
Oh my God! I love that they reference that in the new Brotherhood book. Like there's a new joke or like a new. It's a joke with like a new instance of sand happening. I'll just give you a hint. It's blue sand.
Blue sand.
Yeah, blue sand, and it's actually a pretty funny joke that happens in there. And I'm like, it's like a literal problem that you're like, oh yeah, that's probably pretty bad,
That's the next book I'm gonna hit up. Yeah, Brotherhood.
So we do get Vader. He talks to Reva, and it's strange they're being very vague about the fate of the Grand Inquisitor.
They sure are.
I wonder if there's a purpose to that. Like, I wonder if Vader is reviving him, but he's keeping it from Reva.
Well, isn't there a scene in one of the trailers that we haven't seen?
I'm pretty
yet?
sure. I mean, yeah, he can't be dead, but I would have thought. I mean, I'm just like, I hope it wasn't one of the situations where the writer is saying like, "Oh, we need to get him out of the story. If you want to find out what happens to him, come back in this show later on.
Watch Star Wars Rebels."
Yeah,
but where we won't answer it, he'll just appear.
Yeah, but his appearance though was really I loved it. Yeah, I'll get to that later. I've seen some people's complaints about the episode, and I didn't agree with them. But
about Vader,
or just about the episode in general. But yeah. What did y'all think about his appearance when he showed up in the town when he finally showed?
I thought it was that's the Vader you're scared of.
I mean, that was. I mean, and the thing I like about it was this was peak Vader, who really doesn't have anything other than the dark side for him anymore. Like, in his mind so far, he has nothing anymore. All he has is rage and pain. This isn't somebody who's even aware of Luke Skywalker's existence yet, or Leia's.
And so just the look on Obi-Wan's face when he senses Vader is coming into the town.
Oh yeah.
Just how scared Obi-Wan was. I mean, dude was
He killed a father and son out in the street, and Obi-Wan still didn't come out.
I know.
Like, and that was the most shocking part to me. I mean, I shouldn't have been shocked, but the moment when he held the dad up, force choking him, and then the kid came out saying, "Dad," Vader slammed him up against the wall, and I was like, "Damn, that kid got knocked out," and then
broke his neck.
Oh, we're going there.
And then he's dragging the one lady down the street with the force. I mean,
yeah. Man, it kind of reminded me. It's like a western. That was very much like a space western scene. It seemed like, because he was trying to draw Obi-Wan out by just doing the thing the Grand Inquisitor talked about. Trying to appeal to that nature within Jedi where they want to help people. He's trying to make him. He thought. I think at this point he thought that Obi-Wan was still the same person he fought in Episode 3.
Most definitely, he thought he was still.
I think he was surprised too by how that went down, but. Oh God, what was I gonna say about it?
But then when they finally meet, though,
that exchange was great.
Yeah, I mean, Vader's lightsaber out initially, and Obi-Wan's like, "How do I even hold this thing in my hands?"
I think he's just. I think it was one. It seemed like it was a PTSD thing where he was scared to ignite it because it's almost like. You're going to be drawing a moth to a flame, the second he lights it. So I think it was just because when he finally did light it, it looked like it was a moment of desperation too. It didn't seem like it was a strategic moment. It just seemed like it was a fear-based moment for him. But
very much so.
I love the simplicity of that first exchange between them. Just two lines. It was, "What has become of you?" And then
the years haven't.
Well, no, wait. Well, what first half? What he finally saw. Good look at Vader.
Yeah. Okay.
He told him, what is, what did he say? What has become of you, or what have you become?
Something to that effect. Yeah.
And then Vader just says right back to him, "I'm what you made me." Just oh man, I love that moment. That was.
And James Earl Jones. I don't know if he actually came back.
Yeah, it was him.
That's what it says. He was in the credits.
He was in the credits. I didn't know if they did like a Mark Hamill kind of thing, and they throw a bunch of audio into a computer and it.
I think they're going to use the street cred of using James Earl Jones for as long as he's willing to do it.
Yeah. But then so Obi-Wan decides to run.
Yeah.
He takes off running away from Vader, but then when they do cross blades there with the saber blades, it felt like Vader was fighting like he did in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, I told my wife I felt like it was a total Empire fight where it was more about emotion. It was more about emotion and like overpowering and things like it's like or stalking, because it was like Vader was doing that whole stalking bit, and he would come in and do some easy chops and stuff and overpower Obi-Wan and just more like just scare the bejesus out of him, like he's like toying with him. I could totally destroy you.
He was like a slasher villain, basically. Like he's just he's this unstoppable. He was like Wanda in Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, but what was great about it too is if you notice in the motions, he was all one-handed too.
That's what I was saying. One-handed.
Yeah, I love that. Because I like that speaks to the. Because I remember, did either I think Austin did, but did you read the book that this is a Legends book, the book that came right after? It was set right after Episode 3. It was called The Rise of Darth Vader.
It was like Dark Lord, I think was what it was called.
Yeah, it was written by James Luceno.
Yeah, the master of filling in the blanks, and tie-ins and things like that.
I can't remember.
Well, I mean, one of the kind of minor things that they mentioned in that book was Anakin basically having to adjust to this new existence. So one thing he had to do was he had to basically relearn his body and fighting skill. Because remember Anakin as a fighter was very fluid, very fast, very agile,
two-handed,
very two-handed, very he whipping his blade all around. He can't do that anymore. He's very cybernetic. His armor is very stiff. So that's why he's like that. It's power now. He has to rely on sheer power to be his. If you can't if you can't move and be that agile, you're gonna have to, you got to make up for strength, raw strength. So I love that. That kind of seemed that carried over is that Obi-Wan sees that he's not fighting Anakin at all. This is a whole new beast, that he's become,
and he's still scared because he's just Obi-Wan is just hit this Anakin. Hit the,
Well, there's one moment. Oh, yeah. There's a great little moment you can see during the fight where,
pretty much,
when there's a strength game going on where he's just holding it up, and at first he's holding it like this, and then all of a sudden you see him get desperate enough that he switches his hand, and it's like this. He's like pushing both hands the same direction.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
You'll see it like if he's holding it's like this. He's holding like this, and then all of a sudden he switches, like trying to really push back, and it's just that's how strong Vader is.
Vader's doing it one-handed.
And Vader's just pressing with one hand on him. And then we get to the big part because he gets his butt thrown around a little bit, and then the fire. I was not expecting the fire scene to happen.
Me either. And him getting burned up, it's
poetic. But it was. I could see that for Vader because it's poetic justice. It's like a first step in just wanting to really give him a taste of what he endured, I guess.
Yeah, and Vader pretty much told him this isn't going to end quick.
He wanted it slow for what he did to him.
We're going to take you back to my castle, and we're going to torture you for years, for what you did to me.
You're going to listen to the modal nodes on auto on repeats.
Stormtroopers, go get him. And then, his buddy from the Underground Railroad shot Stormtrooper and then blew up the fire pit or whatever it was that was right there to separate Vader from Obi-Wan, which is weird. It's like Vader's in a suit that can pretty much withstand anything, water, space. Why did he just walk right through it?
I'd say there's two things to that, because that was one complaint that I saw about the episode was
that was actually a complaint.
Yeah. Well, not just that. It was, he put that fire out the first time. Remember, he put it out the first time. So why didn't he put it out again? When it got restarted. So somebody asked that, and then also someone brought up the fact that he possibly could have his own kind of trauma about fire. He may be a little bit psychologically afraid of going in the fire.
But his castle sits right on a freaking fire.
Right.
Pit.
That's why I don't buy any of that. I do feel like there are some moments, even like in the chase scene in the previous episode, it sort of sets a tone, which it hasn't really bothered me with the show, is that it's got some camp to it. It's got some unbelievable, fantastical moments, like with this fight where he's getting, number one, like he's running away from Darth Vader. He's just like, oh no, I'm going to turn right, and then I'm just going to run this way. And he's just like, I'm going to outsmart him. And then it's like this weird cat and mouse game. And then it's like you said, the explosion game where she just fires the one, but I don't know. It's like some of the stuff that happens is very dramatic and fantastical. And, it's just kind of like, they're just kind of pushing along to something else. I'm trying not to think about it too deep.
Don't think about it.
Because you don't. If you do, it really does. There's a lot of holes.
Well, we don't know it's a hole yet. I will say for a lot of questions and complaints that I see about it, a lot of them still seem to fall into this camp of, is it really one yet if we don't know the whole story of the season yet? Because one thing that came to my mind was, what if he would let him escape? Vader's not above setting traps to follow people to get better rewards. So in this case, he could kill two birds with one stone. Find this supposed underground network where Jedi survivors are able to get away, and then he can get Obi-Wan all over again.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, okay, you got 8 stormtroopers beside you, right, or however many. Obi-Wan's burned up, in pain, laying on the ground. Big robot, which isn't a robot, in my opinion, comes to pick him up. It's like, why can't the stormtroopers just run around the fire to the other side and start shooting the robot?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's why I'm wondering if it might be one of those. I mean, it possibly could just be a little bit of poor writing to move the plot along. but I'm also, like I said, since the story's not done yet, I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt that there could be more to it, than what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Vader playing cat and mouse with Obi-Wan, like
Or
being
that
the
too.
cat
He
to the
did say
mouse.
he wants to prolong his
Yeah.
suffering. So if it does fall into what I was saying, where it's a trap that he's so he can follow him to wherever he goes to, it could be a moment where the whole idea of prolonged suffering, watching him lose more people that he was trying to keep alive by staying hidden.
And two, does Vader have communications in his helmet? Like Reva says, "Hey, I've got the kid." The little girl.
Possibly.
And he's telling her. I mean, she's telling him in his head.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And he's like, well, they can't get far. I've got the kid.
Yeah.
You just don't know
Yeah.
about stuff like that. Okay, so it's getting close. Let's talk about any negatives. Any negatives that you saw in this episode?
Not really. I mean, like I said, I've enjoyed the cinematography and stuff of these episodes so far. It's looked great.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Deborah's done a good job because I think she's directed every episode, right?
Yeah, she's doing them all. Yeah,
I mean, it's great, like direction wise and things like that. And like I said, to me, it feels there's a little bit of a Hong Kong cinema feel to it. So and it's got a little bit of that camp to it in certain ways, but then it really, I just love how it feels like an extension of the prequel era. Like we really get to tie up some live action prequel era stuff here. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Ray, anything negative?
No, yeah, it'd be easy to be a cynic about it, but no, I mean, like we've discussed already, any of the things that could be possible things that I would complain about, they're either just not worth, hating a whole episode over or dismissing the whole show, or it's something that still could be addressed in a future episode. So
yeah, and when I say this, I'm not complaining about the show at all. I mean, overall, the show's great to me. I'm loving it. There's just little nitpicky things like Reva was much better in this episode, but there were still some, I'm reading from the book kind of lines right there at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah. Well, real quick, did you notice one interesting thing I think is going to probably play out with in terms of her character's plot? When
she looked at the Jedi logo on the wall.
It looked like she was figuring out what that room was for.
Yeah.
And it seemed like there was some, and it made me think if she's one of those youngling survivors, makes you think like it was almost like this anger, resentment that she could have been saved, she could have been on this path.
I thought about that. Yeah.
And it was like taken from her,
The only other nitpick I have is with the lightsabers. For some reason, do they look weird to you? Almost like the FX lightsabers, and they just kind of outlined them in blue and red.
Well, that's what they use now are like the FX lightsabers and stuff. And that's probably
like a thicker blade, though.
Because I know. Well, I've seen in interviews, Ewan and Hayden were both kind of. They talked about the blades, how they were much more different than the ones they used back in, in the prequels, because those were just, basically just lights, sticks with metal rods that had markers on them. And so they could just, fight to their heart's content. And I think the new stuff is more about the lighting.
Yeah. It just seemed a little off to me. I mean, like too thick for a Jedi blade, but not. That could be just me.
Maybe they're trying to provide the heft, but it's probably like it's probably that, and they just, because I agree with you. I see what you're talking about, because a lot of times they've done where it's a lot sharper and thinner that core of the blade, and then the light makes it thicker, but it's not really like a round bulb. These look like round bulbs. That's probably I'm going to chalk it up to a tiny oversight by design. Like they're just, because of the functionality of the blades, it's something they're going to overlook. They're like, look, you may get a little bit of that effect, but it's just, it's like,
this looks better. This is what we got for the budget.
Well, it's just that the lighting looks
But-
good, and it
Yeah.
just because the blade looks that thicker, it's okay.
Man.
I'm not going to pay this much money to
Yeah.
go in after the fact and re-edit the blade to
Yeah.
look thinner.
I mean, I really love the lighting for the whole cat and mouse sequence in the desert, in like the the dunes in the desert. I really love that stark lighting of blue and red, especially the blue, like the blue how it would light up Obi-Wan's face.
Mhm.
It was a lot like if you thought about it, remember the Dooku and Anakin fight in episode 2? It's like, remember that was the effect they were going for, but they had to like hook up to like these it was like fluorescent bulbs with cables going down and had to do all that stuff and do all the fight. And now they're getting to do that with just like force effects lightsabers on camera and get a capture that same effect
that
and
natural
get a better
lighting. I love
Yeah,
that.
So
that
it's that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we can't wait for episode 4 next week. So let's switch gears. I know we're not going to get into the Star Wars Celebration stuff because we're already over the hour mark. Any hauls for the week?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Ray.
Been waiting for this. It finally came in a day early, so just in time for the show. But I have Mandalorian's.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. I'm trying to get you in the
Oh gosh.
solo layout. There we go.
Yes.
Sweet.
Dude, that looks so
Mandalorian's
good.
N1 Starfighter, and here's the backside. Look, there's even a in the front section of it up here. It actually comes up, and you can store some of his equipment in there.
Oh gosh.
That's so dope.
I cannot wait.
What
for
is the
this.
white droid?
That
Over there
is.
by-
It is a BD.
Droid. Or it's B? Okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a little
okay,
BD.
yeah, that's
It's the BD unit from the episode.
Okay, that's cool. How much
So
is that?
it's this set,
Mhm.
I think it was 69, I believe.
Ooh. It still looks awesome. It still looks
But-
awesome.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Austin, you got anything?
No hauls for me this time.
All right, so here's my haul for the week. Just this, I talked about the fig pens the other day,
Oh
last
yeah.
episode, so I went and got one just to see what all the hubbub's about. Hadn't opened it yet, but I got the Boba Fett because it was the only one they had.
That's cool.
Kind of take a look at the side and see what it's all about. It does have a kickstand, like I said, in the back, so you can stand this thing straight up.
But do people wear these pins normally? Like, what are they supposed? What's the purpose? I guess.
It's like a figure, but a pin because you can stand them up. So I mean, it's like a little display looking, like a
That's the main thing.
knick-knack.
Then is to display it, not put it on a
yeah.
vest or anything.
I mean, you can. I'm looking at the back of it. There's like 1, 2. It's got like 4 sharp pins on the back. Of
gotcha.
this
So
thing.
you could
Good.
put that on. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I could see people putting like decorating their like vests, like the denim vests or jackets and things like that with a bunch of those. They do like the Disney collectors are crazy
Yeah.
They are
about those,
crazy.
and they'll be covering their backs.
Yeah.
I could just see the Star Wars collectors getting those like the big figs and stuff like
Oh,
that on
yeah.
their backs.
And here I am just thinking like you could just put it on like your like if you have a laptop bag or something like that, you just put it on that bag, or if you have a messenger bag with your stuff in it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of the Outer Rim News. Catch us next week for episode 4 of Kenobi, where we'll be talking all the cool stuff that happens in that episode. Hopefully there's some cool stuff happening. And hopefully there's no negative.
And then maybe
Next
also
week.
we can squeeze in all the toy news and stuff that we like from Celebration. Maybe we'll squeeze that in.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Depends on how much we like the episode 4. So,
That's true.
all right. Any last words before we head out? Dudes,
Hey,
none for you.
good.
Ray?
Yeah, you put me on the spot. Nope, I ain't got any.
Nope. Just nothing for me either. So, may the force be with you guys.
Jesus loves you, Ashley.
Kanye for president.
He promises he loves you.